Well, I think in the interest of time, we'll go ahead and get started. Thank you, everyone. Good evening. Thank you for zooming in with all of us across the country to join this important conversation with the National Association of Latino Healthcare Executives, also known as NALI. My name is George Avila, and I serve as the Vice President of Mission Integration at Christus Health, a Catholic healthcare system based in Irving, Texas. And I also have the pleasure of serving as the board treasurer for the NALHE Dallas-Fort Worth chapter. And it gives me great pleasure to welcome you all to our Getting Ready for the Next Level with Tips and Tricks High School Edition. High School Edition. So several of you that are joining us this evening, you might be new to NALHE. And so I wanted to take a moment to tell you a little bit more about this amazing organization. And I have to tell you personally that if you're trying to build your network, you're trying to connect with people of influence, NALHE is the place to go. I was new to the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and I really didn't know very many people. And a coworker said, come to this NALHE event, the kickoff of the DFW chapter. And so now I have all these wonderful friends across the DFW area, that people that I can connect with when I need to talk about important issues that are impacting our Latino community. So I hope that you'll take advantage in joining NALHE as well. So I'll take a few minutes to share a little bit about NALHE. NALHE is an organization with a little bit over 15 years in the making. We are an association of healthcare leaders committed to fostering a culture of authenticity. We champion diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives, and we promote and advance varying perspectives and ideas that provide opportunities for Latinos, Latinas, and multicultural individuals to have a role, a voice, and a seat at the table. The NALHE footprint spans across the US via multiple chapters. Our growing member and partner networks represent students, early careerists, mid to senior level executives, physicians, nurses, and other industry professionals, which we know, especially in these moments, living the realities of the pandemic that we're living, that these roles are really crucial to us providing high quality care to our communities. Together, we ensure that we are advancing our mission and that we create opportunities for leadership, professional development, career advancement, community engagement, advocacy, and care transformation. We welcome you to join and connect with the NALHE family, and we have developed this program to offer hope, inspiration, and wisdom. So before we move on, I wanted to make sure and give special thanks to our sponsors. So we know that we cannot do this work alone. And so we want to make sure and give thank you to people that are helping to make healthcare careers a reality for Latinos and Latinas across this country. So first, wanted to start out with our platinum sponsors, which are Christus Health, Parkland, and JPS. And then now also our silver sponsors, which are Texas Health Resources, Fort Worth. And then we have our gold sponsor, HHS1, Cantex, and Methodist. And then also wanted to give a special thanks to author Harvey Castro, who mailed his book to participants, Success Reinvention, and one of our sponsors of La Mesa Emerging Leader Program. So for all of you so much for taking this opportunity to be with us today, that we are very proud of the La Mesa program and so happy that it started out of our NALHE DFW chapter. I know we're trying to see how we can continue to expand that. And so for many of you today, I would invite you, you'll see I have my alma mater in my background. I'm a University of California, Irvine Anteater. And so several of you, I understand, are in high school and discerning what are your next steps, how do you approach it? And so we have an amazing panel today to answer these very important and crucial questions as you discern your next steps, because college is a big step, right? It's our big steps that we take as adults, and it really helps to frame our future career and the way that we will be able to have a voice and make an impact in our community. So I hope you have a notepad ready to jot down some amazing notes, and I'm sure they're going to cover crucial information like, okay, so your mom and dad don't cook your food for you every morning anymore. Where do you go get your food? How do you gain those freshmen 15 to 20? And so they'll have those answers for you today. So thank you again for joining us. Go UC Irvine Anteaters, zot, zot, zot. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Rolando Perez, who will lead us through this, this wonderful presentation and dialogue. Thank you, everyone.
All righty. Thank you so much, George, for that introduction there. And as he said, you know, my name is Rolando Perez. I am a clinical staff assistant here at UT Southwestern, as well as the co-chair for the Nali Mentorship program. And so this panel is brought to you by our La Mesa students who have worked rigorously over the past 6 months to better develop themselves as leaders and are ready to give back and discuss with everyone getting ready for the next level. So now, as everyone gets to know our panelists, we do want to know just a little bit about you. So throughout this panel here, there'll be a couple of poll questions that pop up. If y'all are able to just answer them whenever they do, they'll be greatly appreciated. And so without further ado, I'll go ahead and hand it off and have everyone introduce themselves.
Hello, everyone. My name is Ines Rivera. I'm sorry, I'm answering the first question.
Yes.
I am the first generation in my family to graduate from college and attend graduate school. I am a Latina and I grew up in Houston, Texas. I am also the oldest of 6 children, and I grew up in a loving, chaotic, yet traditional Mexican American family who always pushed education on me. I attended Texas Tech University, where I studied psychology and biology, and I started with the intention of going into medicine. And then I ended up rerouting my graduate studies to healthcare administration. So here I am going for my master's in healthcare administration, and I'll be graduating hopefully next December. I am also currently full-time employed as an administrative assistant here at a clinic in Houston. My cultural background has led me to recognize that learning is a privilege that not many have. So I've learned to take advantage of every opportunity and also to be resilient when encountering tough life situations, school situations. And I strongly believe that all of my experiences, good or bad, have prepared me and shaped me into the person I am today. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. That was wonderful. I couldn't imagine growing up with 6 other siblings there. And so that's definitely a wonderful story there, and you know how you came to be. And we'll go ahead and move forward. Does anyone else want to start off?
I'll go ahead and go next. Hello, everyone. My name is Jose Yax. I'm a senior at the University of Texas at Dallas, double majoring in healthcare management and information technology and systems. I plan on graduating by this December. I don't have 6 siblings. I just have my younger sister, but she's already enough. I feel like I have 6 siblings within her. I come from an immigrant family. So my mom's from Guerrero, Mexico, and my dad is from Totonicapan, Guatemala. Being part of an immigrant family, I kind of felt the pressure to, be successful, just to demonstrate that all of the hard work that my parents put in and to me and my sister have been worth it. Currently, I am interning at the American College of Emergency Physicians as a IT Big Data Analytics intern, and I'm excited to be on this panel.
All right. Yeah, wonderful. So we got two people from Houston. So let's see what's going on with you, Leslie. Where are you from?
So, hi everyone, my name is Leslie Duran. I am currently starting my journey in graduate school. So currently I just got accepted to Texas Medical Branch in Galveston, Texas. I will be pursuing my Master's of Science in Respiratory Care. For the past 2 years before I chose this career path, I worked as a medical scribe down in El Paso, Texas. I was born and raised into a Mexican American family. I'm the oldest of 3 children, and I am a first generation college graduate from the University of Texas at El Paso, where I received my Bachelor's of Science in Biological Sciences. Currently, I am hoping to get involved and, share my experiences down from El Paso up here in Galveston, see how I can also take some of that stuff back home.
Awesome, awesome. Yeah, I know the struggle with being, first generation, that's definitely something that I know I relate to and many others do. And so, thank you for, coming along today and being able to, speak about your experience there. All righty. Yvonne, would you be able to give us a little intro?
Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Yvonne Martinez, and I am over here in McKinney in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. I moved to Texas back in 2009, I'm sorry, and I did things backwards. I had a family first and then went to school. In 2015, I graduated from the Texas Women's University. And in general studies, I studied sociology and health studies. And then I went on to further my education, and I graduated in December 2019 at Texas Women's University in healthcare administration. And so I am in the mentorship, connecting and gaining some leadership skills other than from what my program has taught me. And, during the pandemic, I had to navigate and learn how to connect with people in a different way. And from here on out, I hope to be more active with the community. And thank you for having me tonight.
Yeah, yeah, no, absolutely. So, we have a very diverse panel here, from, went straight into college, took some time first generation, had to travel. And, there's a lot of challenges that go along with that. And I'm sure having to navigate, especially if you're a first generation or whatnot, having to navigate that field can be difficult. So how did y'all come to, decide which college that you wanted to go to? And um excuse me. And what was something that, you kind of wish that you knew when you were starting that? I'll go ahead here and Inez, what do you think?
So yes, as I said before, I attended Texas Tech University for my undergrad, which from Houston was 8 hours away. I knew I wanted to get away for college and experience independence, even though I was gonna miss my family. But I visited the campus about a year before starting college, and I ended up just loving the campus and the city itself because it was a small town where I could walk to many places because at the time I didn't have a car. So Texas Tech also had the medical program that I wanted to go into, and they also had a medical school on their campus. So um, that's one of the reasons I chose to go there. For graduate school, going to Texas Women's, I did more research into their MHA program to ensure, I would be receiving a good education, and they would also be flexible because I needed to work full time. Texas Women's also had their location here in Houston, so I could be close to my family again. So all of these factors were my motivation for choosing the schools that I wanted to go to.
Perfect, perfect. All righty. How about you, Leslie?
So for me, for undergrad, I didn't look too deep into the program, but for me, I wanted to stay close to home. So El Paso, UTEP was there at the time when I began my undergrad career. I actually wanted to become a pharmacist, and they had a really interesting program where it was I could do my basics within UTEP, and then I would get the experience to leave out to Austin. But then my plans changed when their career changed, like their path changed, because they decided that they wanted to open up the pharmacy school down in El Paso. So they offered me some changes, and then that's when I decided, okay, you know what, maybe this isn't the path I want. And then that helped me decide, okay, like I want to do this other bachelor's. But then for my graduate school, I did look more into the schools, and then I had an interview with the professors. And for me, it was really important, like, can I connect with these professors? Can I talk to them? Can I have that open communication? Because that will help me strive more in college. And then it also helped me gain those opportunities that I need, the social networking.
Okay, yeah, perfect. That's definitely, a good thing to really think about is how close can you really get with your professors? Are you going to be in a class full of 300, 400,000 people and you're just a number? Or are you going to be able to actually have that person, one-on-one? And, very different, you didn't have to travel. Inez had to travel 8 hours. So both ends of the spectrum there. And that kind of makes me think, as far as traveling goes. And I know, Jose, you were from Houston, and I could see you went to UTD. That's definitely a difference, in travel time there. So, Jose, I guess, what was it like moving away from home? Being so far away, and kind of how did you adjust to this new life?
Yeah, so Dallas is kind of like 3 to 4 hours so far away from Houston. It might not seem like a lot, but to me, in the beginning, it definitely was. I was always with my family, so it was really difficult to make that transition, having to live away from them. So the way that I transitioned into this new environment was gaining support. So I signed up for a freshman mentorship program that my school offered. I wanted to sign up for that because I felt like through a mentorship, I would be able to more likely succeed and just learn more about the resources that my school offers in order for me to be successful. But as well, in university, sometimes you might be the minority, so there might not be a lot of people who look like you. So I decided to join some organizations that were related to my culture. So I joined the Association of Latinx American Students, and through that I was able to meet other students who were like me, and that helped me feel like I was at home.
Oh, that's great. That's great. Yeah, I know when it comes to those organizations there, it really just helps you kind of connect, with people who think similarly, even if you're different majors. And I know for you, Inez, you had to go that 8 hours. How was that being so far away from home?
So yes, being so far from home, I did get a little homesick, but in the beginning, I was excited to start a new journey and really focus on myself and my future. A few things that I did to adjust to my new environment, my new home, was joining organizations. Like I joined a Catholic Student Association, and I also did played for their club soccer team, which wasn't like the actual team, it was like the club team. But we still traveled and stuff. But these things kind of helped me to stay surrounded by people who had the same morals as I did, same interests, and just stay close to things that I used to like doing in high school. I also made sure to stay open-minded to new things, new people, because college is that time, in my opinion, to start exploring and just meet new people, networking. I also found friends who would be willing to, go adventure around the city, around the campus, to get to know it more. And from there, I just started feeling more and more comfortable every day.
That's great. That's great. I'm sure you must have missed your family's cooking there. How did you manage to stay fed? Do you have what's it called? One of the flex programs or whatnot that they have?
So I played for the soccer team for like the first 2 years, and that kind of helped me stay active. And after that, we had like intramurals. We had in the fall, I believe we had like indoor intramurals. So we played indoor soccer, you could play indoor volleyball. And then in the spring, we had outdoor soccer, outdoor football. So that was kind of a way to distract myself and, be social.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Well, besides moving, having to go hundreds of miles, hours away from school, from home, there's definitely bound to be other challenges and hard times, with that transition. So I guess what are some obstacles that you had to face and how you kind of managed to overcome them? Leslie, would you like to take this one?
Yes, so one of the main challenges that I actually faced was class size difference. So in high school, you're used to like those 20 to 30 students, maybe max. And then in college, like I had a chemistry course and it was like 100, 200 students, like, so you don't get like that specific attention to you sometimes. And then it's also really hard because you have more distractions. Me, I learned, okay, I like to sit in the back, but when it comes to those class sizes and that time, depending on how you want your education to go, you have to decide, okay, it's time for me to move up, and then I need to find a space where I won't be as distracted. And then for me, another transition that really, or an obstacle that I really faced was, since the classes aren't the same, your grades, your study levels, your study habits have to change along with that. And that's just, it all takes time, but it is something that you really have to get used to. Like, it's the difference between high school and college. You'll experience it when you get there, of course, but there, I guess you're not really prepared for it, especially when it comes to class size and how easily you think, oh, I'm not going to get distracted, or, oh, this teacher teaches different, stuff like that. It's all just an adjustment.
Yeah, yeah, definitely is an adjustment, especially with you know, the less so lack of structure. When you're in high school, you've got the what 8 to 4, 7 to 3, whatever it may be, 9 to whatever. And with the college classes, it's the class, and then you've got 3, 4 hours to spare. And during those classes, you might just be a number. So that's definitely a challenge there. How about you, Jose? What challenges besides that move did you kind of face, and how'd you face them?
Yeah, so some of the challenges that I faced were more so like on obtaining internships, because I'm a business major. My school requires me to get an internship in order to graduate. And being first generation, I didn't really know a lot about how to do so because my parents, they work like regular jobs. Like my dad is a cook and my mom works at my grandma's tamaleria. So I couldn't ask them for help, like, oh, how do I structure a resume, or how do I how would I be successful in an interview? So those were some of the obstacles that I faced, and in order to kind of combat them, what I did is I used some of the resources that my school offered. So my school has a career management center, so I was able to uh, gain an understanding of how to structure my resume. What are some of the ways that you can prepare for an interview, but as well as joining some professional organizations on campus, such as the Association Latino Professionals for America and Healthcare Management Association. And through those organizations, not only was I able to develop myself as an entry-level careers, but as well as expand my network. So I was able to meet other students who had already gotten internships at other places or got to network with professionals who were already in the jobs that I wanted to be in.
Okay, okay. Yeah, that's perfect because it's not as utilized as you would think, but all universities, they have those resources there for you. And I know I've been there multiple times and you already paid for it. You might as well go. Yeah. So as far as, we've gone past your challenges there and, kind of thinking in reflection, what is something that you wish you kind of knew beforehand, starting into college, at the beginning, uh, that you kind of wish that you knew? How about you, Inez?
Yes, so something I wish I knew before starting college would have been how to manage my time efficiently and to really understand my learning styles. In high school, I didn't study much, but for college, I really needed to apply myself more and study efficiently. My second semester of school, my grandparents bought me a recorder and I would start recording some of the lectures. I would first have to ask the professor for permission, is it okay if I can record your lecture? But for the most part, they wouldn't mind. So I would record the lecture and then just go back into my dorm or my apartment and listen to it again, like while filling in gaps in my notes and rewriting them. FYI, your phone recorder can work just as well, so you don't have to buy one. But for managing my time, it took a while for me to balance with school, work, and social things. But with like buying a planner, putting in dates from your syllabus, and just planning ahead gave me a little bit of relief and somewhat prevented me from procrastinating. Also, something I wish I knew was being more tech savvy. It's really helpful because it can benefit you in some of your homeworks or projects. So if you're not already familiar with your laptop, or if you don't have one, go to your library, find a spot, find a place where you might be able to study and use a computer and just become more familiar with applications like Microsoft and the computer in general. And I think that was something that I wish I knew.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, of course. I think that having those computer skills and knowing, with PowerPoint, Excel, those are definitely going to be really useful and beneficial for all your classes, as well as that time management. You don't really think about it. You're like, oh, I have so much free time, I could get all this done. But you really don't, you got to be able to really kind of manage that and be able to, put everything together so that you don't get lost in translation and end up like, oh no, I had a test last week. What? Yeah. Yvonne, did you have anything that you might wanted to add to this? Something that you wish that you kind of knew before starting college?
Yes, yeah. Your question when you went back and asked Jose, like, how did he know what school to get into? For me, it was looking at the programs and what was going to be convenient for my schedule. I left home very early at the age of 19, and I always had to work. And besides looking at what programs to get into and what I wanted, my heart and desire was always, for the healthcare administration. And at the time, it wasn't available up here in the DFW. It was only in Houston. And then when I found out that the program was going to be here, especially in my hometown in McKinney, I didn't have that far to commute. I thought, why not try? I mean, you'll never know unless you ask or try. What's the worst that's going to happen is that they're going to tell you no, right? But at least you knew. So I picked that. I signed up for it as soon as I found out it was here at McKinney at the Czech Center, Collins Higher Education Center. And then the program ended up getting so big that they had to transfer to Dallas, and so now they have my program was in Houston, and the struggles I had to go through, probably what a lot of people had to go through in 2020, because it was telecast. I didn't have any teachers here that I could drive and go see. And so I had to learn how to navigate through struggles, like if I was struggling in, accounting management, or if I needed help with finance, I had to use the resources that I could. And I didn't know this when I first started college, and now I wish, or I'm going to give this pearl of wisdom for everyone. If you cannot get to a professor or tutor, or reach out to a student for help on a subject that you're struggling with, there's a lot of resources, on YouTube. I learned, it helped me a lot with healthcare economics. It helped me a lot. We had to read reports, and they were huge, but there's a student he's a doctor, he's in med school, he had to read a lot. And on YouTube, he was like, look, you can read the abstract, you can read real quick on the intro and read the conclusion. And not that you want to miss out on a lot, but I didn't know how to do any of that. I too am a first generation student. I can't ask my parents for help. They went to General Motors after they got out of high school. So, these are, some certain things that you learn to pick up along the way. I wish I learned how to use the database system in the library. I had to go through trial and error on my own until later I ended up having healthcare information technology class that actually taught you how to get through the database system, but that wasn't until like the end of my program. So it's just little things like that. But getting back to what school you want to, look at the programs that you're interested in, and then go to the US News and World Report and look at the school's ranking and see if that's going to push you in the right direction. Their ranking's great, if the reputation's great. And I hope that helps.
Yeah,
Okay.
no, absolutely. There's, not only the resources that you would normally think of that come with the school, the databases and everything like that, but I know you mentioned, outside resources like YouTube. I know having, those videos off of YouTube helped me through practically all of my math classes. Basically held me together. So, thinking out of the box like that and trying to find different, different avenues, different resources, and being really agile like that. And, speaking of being agile, there's, when going to college, when going to school and everything, it gets expensive. It gets really expensive. If you're lucky and, you get full rides, you get scholarships or whatnot, that's beautiful. But otherwise it's really difficult to try to pay for school when they're asking for $20,000 a year, or depending on where you're going. So what are some tips and tricks on getting scholarships or some type of financial aid? And we can go ahead. Leslie, would you like to start us off with this one?
Yes, so FAFSA, guys, do FAFSA. I mean, you never know, you could be surprised. Go to your counselors, or you know what, if you have someone in college who's done it before, ask them to help you out. I mean, you don't need this year's taxes, you need the year before. So I mean, the earlier you can apply, they open up in October, apply, you'll get an answer. Scholarship wise, go to your counselors, go to your teachers. I'm pretty sure someone has some advice, has some type of site that you could go to. Honestly, when I was looking, when I did my interview for my graduate school, they actually told me, hey, you know what, our school's offering a bunch of scholarships within the school. So maybe to whichever college you decide to apply, you could always ask them, hey, do you guys have some specific scholarships? What are the deadlines depending on when you apply? Go ahead and ask those questions, ask your counselors. Even as I was searching this year too, Sallie Mae is somewhere where you can get loans, but they also have this neat thing where you can go and create an account, and then you can put some personal information on it, and they'll match you with scholarships that you would be able to get. And then they say that sometimes those update kind of like on a weekly basis. So just, and also apply to as many as you can. I mean, if you don't try, it's a for sure no. And I mean, if you try, you at least give it the shot. And I mean, for all you know, you could get many scholarships and that could always just accumulate and end up paying for your full ride.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good. Yeah, I'm gonna need you to send me that link too. I'm starting my master's program. I'm gonna need all the assistance I can get. How about you, Jose? What do you think? What are some tips and tricks about getting that aid, getting the money?
Yeah, definitely. I think Leslie, provided really good solutions to that. But just expanding on what she mentioned, definitely looking to organizations that their primary goal is just to get students who are like you to go into college. So if you're Hispanic or Latinx, I would definitely recommend checking the Hispanic Scholarship Fund. They're a big organization that has helped a lot of Hispanics, Latinx students with financial aid, but I would recommend checking the schools that you're applying, checking their early priority deadlines. If the earlier you apply, the more chances you get more scholarships. That was definitely helpful, but as you continue your education, there are still some scholarships that you can obtain, even if you're a sophomore, junior, senior. Like I know this one website that I use, it's called FastWeb. They you put in your information, like your major, what level you are in college, senior, junior, and then it curates a bunch of scholarships into like kind of like this list of feed of scholarships that you're compatible with. But definitely checking out your specific school if they offer any scholarships. Like my school, they offer scholarships to current students as well.
Okay, very nice, very nice. And that's perfect. And I do see here that there's also a comment there from George. Work studies, those are also really good about putting into, you get to work on campus, you get some money back, and, helps you not only pay for food, but also be able to pay back some of that tuition. That's definitely awesome. So going into some of our final questions here, I'll just ask this one question: what are some skills that you think would help you most succeed in school? And this could really be anything. I know y'all can kind of touched upon this a little bit here and there, but I'll go ahead and see. Yvonne, do you know anything in particular?
Yes, definitely being a team player and a team leader. You'll be working on projects, big projects that take all semester long, due at the end of the semester. If nobody is putting it together, you be the leader. You're the one that gets everybody together. And the only thing that I wish that I didn't do in the past that I had to learn the hard way is I'd let everybody pick what they wanted to work on. And I always got put on the most difficult task of a project, like doing financial projections or, yeah, it was always the financial part that I always got put on. So I wish in the past that I would have said, okay, I'm going to work on this. Who's good at, financials, who can crunch these numbers, but it is what it is. I made it work. And okay, so other than being a team leader, you have to collaborate. You have to have great communication skills. You have to have analytical thinking, critical thinking, study skills, work independently. I think communication is a big one. There's a lot of projects that I was working with in my group, and I wouldn't hear from people. And it's like, can you tell me, hey, you ain't got the time, you'll get back with me later? Or, you don't hear from them until they show up the last day and they're ready. And it's like, it's not fair to anybody, So to me, that's a biggie.
Oh yeah, no, I definitely agree. I definitely agree, and that was even something that one of my grad professors was just talking about the other day. I think it's, it's really important there. So, final question of tonight, kind of going into it, being really reflective upon your whole experience and what you think might be, the most beneficial for everyone to hear. What is, the biggest piece of advice, biggest takeaway from tonight, or from something that you may not have even mentioned, but, you're thinking about it, and, something that you think everyone else might need to know? Inez, we'll go ahead and we'll start off with you for this one.
Okay, my biggest advice is for you all to never quit, no matter how tough school or life may get. Always keep your mind open to new interests and don't be afraid to explore other programs or other careers. Reach out to people who are sitting in the position you'd like to be in one day, and just ask them if you can shadow or observe them. The worst they're going to say is no. You can do that, just by researching some people and contacting them via email. But overall, my biggest advice to take away from today is to push through the studying, because a quote from the book Unbroken: "A moment of pain is worth a lifetime of glory." A moment of hard studying pays off once you receive that A or that diploma. So keep pushing and keep staying motivated.
Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely worth it whenever you finally have that degree and it's framed up on your wall, and all those long nights studying and crying and caffeine and everything. It's definitely worth it. All right, Jose, how about you?
Yeah, the biggest tip that I would offer is, I would say, definitely push yourself out of your comfort zone. I think that if you stay within your comfort zone, you're never gonna grow as a person. So I would recommend, asking for help if you need help. Don't be afraid. A lot of people are more than happy to assist you with anything, and definitely network with other people. Where I am right now, I would definitely not be here if it weren't because of other people and their help, and for them providing information or resources. And lastly, I would just say, definitely do something that you are really heavily passionate, because if you do something that you're passionate about, I think you'll surpass anything, just because it relates to, your passion and the reason why you're doing what you are doing.
Absolutely, absolutely. And going off of those organizations there, I know when I joined, some organizations, it helped me get a job, by networking and just, going to events and whatnot. I got to know people. And that eventually leads to employment, if you know the right person. And so I think that's awesome. Definitely getting out of that comfort zone, definitely pushing yourself. That is great. How about you, Leslie? What do you think?
I think communication is just one of the biggest pieces of advice that I could give. I mean, don't be afraid to ask questions. Don't be scared just because you don't know the answer, because I mean, together in groups you can find that answer. If your professor can't help you, then they'll work with you to help you find that answer. I would also say the first year, for sure, the first semester is hard. Not all of us will always get those grades that we want, like right off the bat, but don't give up. Don't give up. Keep pushing, like my colleague said, keep pushing forward, because you got this. And I mean, you know what you need to do after that. So I mean, if you want that dream, you can definitely achieve it. And yes, just asking questions, asking about internships, asking about just anything that you're curious about. There can never be too much clarification. That way you understand what you have to do.
Absolutely. Don't be afraid of your professors. They're there to help you. They're there. All right. Last but definitely not least, Yvonne, what you got for us? What's your final piece of advice?
On top of everybody else, which they point out good facts to say, is don't let anybody tell you anything different. I had counselors, I had bosses, they would knock me down when the opportunity was there. I had a counselor tell me at the community college that I was never going to succeed in life. And, you know, if I had a dime for every time someone told me something different, I would be rich. So don't give up on yourself. You know, it's always easier to quit, and just remember, you know, you will get through this. It is hard work. You know, don't go into any class thinking that it's easy. It's college. You're going to get, you may understand the subject, but you know, there's a lot of work that presents itself, and don't beat yourself up. Like Leslie said, you might not get that grade that you wanted. And I know a couple of times I was a few points away from an A, and I would beat myself up because I was like, God, if I just pushed myself harder, you know. But you can't sit there and, you know, be in the negative and focus on what you didn't do. You got to focus on what you are doing and that you're moving forward.
Absolutely. I completely agree. And everything with college and life and everything is what you put into it. And if you listen to everyone who's telling you otherwise, then you won't get far. But if you do your own, you know, track there, and you listen to your own voice, and you put in that work, and you don't listen to the negative, to the naysayers, you're bound to succeed no matter what. And, you know, with that, I'd love to thank all the panelists here and everyone for joining us here today. Before we, you know, we end the night and everything, I wanted to make sure that everyone was able to, you know, ask some questions and get some answers. So without further ado, I'll hand y'all off to Elizabeth. And if everyone's able to just, you know, ask your questions in the chat, use that, and we'll take it from there. Here you go.
Okay, thank you, Rolando. So thank you everyone for your questions. So we do have some questions to answer, but I wanted to quickly introduce myself. So my name is Elizabeth Golinas. I am from Dallas, Texas, and I am the marketing co-chair for NALHE DFW, and I'm the patient capacity manager here at Children's in Dallas. So it's great to hear everyone's story, and then we have some more to talk about. So go ahead and send in your questions, but I'll go ahead and kick it off with the first one. So it's open to the group. Did you know what you wanted to be when you grew up? No. I'll go ahead.
No,
Go ahead,
I'm sorry.
Jose.
Well, just based on like experiences, my mom, she has an autoimmune disease, so I would always go with her to the hospital. So going to the hospital was a big part of my life. So I was on the mindset of becoming a doctor to help other people. But you know, as I went into college, I was gonna do a double major in biology and healthcare management. So I did that, but then I was like, maybe the pre-med route is not for me. So I went ahead and just changed my major to just healthcare management because I still wanted to be a part of the healthcare industry and create a change. So don't be afraid to change majors if you don't find it suitable for you.
Right.
Oh, Yvonne?
Oh, I'm
Did you have
sorry,
something to add?
and I'm unmuted. No, I didn't know what I wanted to be when I grew up. I knew I wanted to work in pediatrics. I always thought I was going to be like a nurse practitioner. When I got out of high school, I did get into Blue Care Network of Blue Cross and Blue Shield as a medical assistant, and I worked there in pediatrics for 3 years. And I found out that that's not what I wanted. I still have a heart and I still wanted to help. And a nurse pulled me off to the side one day because I had to step out of an exam room. I was getting queasy. And she told me that, you know, there's always other parts to the healthcare system if I wasn't going to be on the clinical side. So that's the route I took. I still want to help. I still want to serve. I just knew I couldn't be on the clinical side.
Yeah, so those are great points. So you definitely explore your options. There are so many programs, there are so many different fields to each program. So definitely explore. And I think definitely your freshman year, you get to see all these different career paths. So have an open mind. Next question. Did you participate in any high school programs that prepped you for college or your career choice?
I personally did not participate in any, but unfortunately, I found out about some programs as I progressed in my undergraduate education. Now I wish I would have done some more research into seeing if there were any programs, but I saw this one organization called SEO that they provide a specific program for high school students in order to prepare them for college. And I think as well, I saw this on TikTok, but it's called it's called QuestBridge, and that helps minority students get into like nationally recognized universities, including Ivy League schools. So I recommend checking that out soon.
Jose, so we did get a question asking if you could type the websites that you're recommending in the chat, so we can check them out.
Elizabeth,
Yes.
this is George. I had a comment on that. I can't turn on my camera, but one of the things that I got to do, it wasn't an official program, but what it helped me, there was things didn't fit in my schedule. And so my counselors had to put me in the ROP program. I don't know if you guys are familiar. I don't know if it still exists. I went to high school way back in the day, in the late 90s, but it was a program that would teach you office skills. So I learned how to use the computer, how to do print shop stuff, how to create flyers. And so my first work study job, they hired me as somebody that would create flyers and type up things for the health education center. So it wasn't that it was necessarily preparing me for college, but it gave me that cutting edge ahead of other students that had never really worked in an office setting. And so you just never know. I had a portfolio. So I went to my interview with the portfolio and I said, this is all I know how to do. And they're like, well, this is great, you're hired. And I got my first job. So I was upset that I had to take ROP and I wanted to take pottery. It didn't fit my schedule, but it helped me out at the end. So it was a blessing.
Thank you, George. Thank you for that. So I would definitely talk to your counselors to see if they have any programs available. And then even just like taking advanced courses, that helps too, because when you go to college, you're going to have like a homework load and then a test, and you have tests that kind of overlap. Advanced courses helps you prepare and helps you multitask. We have another question. How was it having roommates? For those of you who lived on campus, how did you manage living with people who you may not get along with? Does anyone have any roommate stories?
Yes, okay. So freshman year, I lived in the freshman dorm, so I had 2 other roommates. I didn't really have a good experience, but I definitely would recommend just having, communication with your roommates, explicitly stating what you like, what you don't like. I think that saying that in the beginning would have been way more helpful than saying it later on, but just communicating what you like and what you don't like, it was really helpful in having a better experience. Oh, and also, oh, sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was gonna say I had off campus, but I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, just really quickly. Also, I don't know about every school, if they allow you to fill out this form, you put in your preferences and then they match you. So I would just recommend doing that.
I had off-campus living and I had 2 roommates. So it was us 3 and they did not get along. They ended up getting into a huge fight. And all I can say is if you're living with somebody that you're not getting along with, at least remain respectful. If it's in a situation where you feel like you need to get out, you can always talk to the leasing office because they will let you sublease. That's all the information that I could give you. I was blessed with 2 other at 2 different times roommates that I got along with great. So best wishes to you.
I do have a piece of advice about that. Apply for your dorm early. As soon as the application opens, apply because so many people apply. And so it gets a little competitive. So as soon as you know that you're going to go to that school, apply for on-campus housing. Another question. I heard about freshman 15. How do you manage to have time for everything? What do you recommend for prioritizing?
Getting into a routine. And if you're worried about gaining weight, I would definitely recommend watch what you're eating, cut back on your sugars, there's good carbs, there's bad carbs. A lot of the bread group you could cut back on, because what it is if your body's eating way too much sugar, then it's going to store all the carbs as fat. And so you can, maneuver around it within certain limitations. However, just get into a routine, whether it's before you go to class or in the evening. You got to be religious about it as far as trying to exercise and getting that exercise in, because exercise is just as important as it is studying.
Yes, great point, Yvonne. And then also the fitness centers that are on campus, you are paying for those. So definitely take advantage of the fitness centers. And they also have group classes available. So if you don't want to train by yourself, they do have classes available that you can join. And we have one more. What are some important things colleges look for that you have in your application regarding your high school career?
I would say the class that you took, they were very rigorous. So like taking AP courses would be really helpful, as well as being really active in high school, like being part of student organizations such as student council or any like other clubs. I was part of a volunteering club, and that helped me in my application. And as well as some of the essays, some may be optional, but I would recommend doing them anyways because it gives the admission committee more insight into who you are as a person, and also make sure you understand why you want to go to that specific school, because sometimes they ask, oh, why do you want to be part of our school?
And Elizabeth, I'll share with, so I was actually part of the recruitment office at UC Irvine. I was a tour guide. So I would go to these college fairs, recruit freshmen. And so I would always kids would come up, well, I have a 4.4 GPA. Can I get into UC Irvine? And so I'd shock them. I'd say, well, that depends. What are your extracurriculars? Have you volunteered? Were you in any sports? Were you in student council? And like their face would just drop because they were coming like, I'm going to totally get into UCI. I'm like, well, guess what? You're not, because they're trying to really look, as the recruitment office is looking, how will you bring a great balance to build this community life? And so that would be my biggest thing. Volunteer right now. My daughter just became a freshman. We've already signed her up to be part of a volunteer organization. She's part of Color Guard. And so really making sure that, when they line you up, we know it now, right? Everybody has a 4.5, 4.9 with all these AP classes. What's going to make you stand out, right? You need to make sure and know your story. Have your story, be able to explain why this is important to you, and be able to deliver it on command, because that will become helpful for you. And so that was from, I feel it's probably still valid today. I'm sure that the schools are still looking for that, but I was in the inside, so I knew what we were looking. So that'd be my recommendation.
Yes, thank you for pointing out the volunteering. Even when you're looking for your first job, like if you don't, when they ask for experience, you can always use your volunteer experience. So definitely look into volunteering opportunities.
Or join a NALHE panel and put that on your application. I was part of the NALHE panel for future kids that want to go to college. I hope everybody's going to be putting that down on your resumes tonight that's on this panel, because that will be important. You will stand out.
My daughter's a freshman in high school, and I know they have a green cord. It's all this volunteer activities that they do to earn that green cord when they graduate. And I know to get started on that, they have to contact the students have to contact the counselor. So my advice to you high school students is contact your counselor and see what type of opportunities you can get into. Because like George says, you need to be a well-rounded student. You know, not only are you bringing the grades, but you know, how are you in the community? How are you demonstrating yourself, presenting yourself in the community?
Okay, we have one more question. Does anyone have a recommended caseload? So I guess a recommended like class schedule. So how many classes should you take? Should you be a little bit lighter your freshman year? What was your experience?
I can answer this question. So I started both my freshman semesters taking 4 classes. I believe that was 15 hours. And that wasn't bad. I don't think so for those first 2 semesters, but I think, you know, my advice probably would be to go ahead and just do like 12 hours and just to start, especially if, you know, you just kind of want to get used to everything, used to the big classes and studying. So maybe 12 to 15 hours would be my recommendation. That wouldn't overload you and you'd still get a little bit of time to start adjusting to your new place and, you know, also be social.
I agree with Inez, in the sense of like 12 to 15 hours. Also, when you go in as a freshman into college, make sure you talk to your advisor so that you have that nice balance. If you already know which kind of degree you want that you're pursuing, make sure you have that balance of like, if you're a science major like I was, I had the science and I had my English classes and I had all my other classes. Like I wasn't just all science. I had like an equal balance. So I wasn't just like burned out on one end of the spectrum. And that really helped even some of that stuff out.
So I don't know everybody's story. I don't know if they're headed straight off to a university or if they're going to college, if they're going to be working part-time, full-time. My advice to you, if you are going to be working once you get out of high school, I would not take no more than, 2 classes if you're working at least 40 hours a week. If you're working part-time, then yes, I would say you could handle 3 classes. But working and taking school, it limits your time for socializing too. So I don't know if you are going to get financial aid. Maybe financial aid won't give you anything because you're only a part-time student. So that's another thing for you to keep in mind, and contact somebody in the financial aid office and, ask them, if I'm only taking 2 classes at a time, is financial aid going to cover me? So that's just a little bit of advice that I could give to you if needed. And thank you.
No, that's very good advice, Yvonne. I can't tell you how many times my friends had to rush to the registrar's office last minute because they needed another class for their financial aid. So definitely check what the requirements are so that you can get your money and make sure that you can fulfill your requirements. And then another great piece of advice from George: don't schedule all your classes on the same days. Yes, that's very important because your finals will fall all on the same day. And then I would also say look at the class times. If you're a morning person, they have as early as 7:30 or 8 a.m. So make sure you pick a time that you'll get out of bed and get to class on time. But those are all our questions. Oh, George, go ahead.
One thing on financial aid. Again, don't do these things, everyone. But we'd be, and again, it wasn't just you're gonna need the money, but you'd get that big check all at once, and you'd be all, ooh, I have all this money. and you just say, I need to just pay my rent, and you pull all that aside, and you're like, I have all this money that I could spend. So I'd always be like, what am I gonna buy? And so I was dumb, and I said, I'm gonna buy a CD disc changer for my car. Well, come the end of the quarter, I'm like, I don't have enough money for food. I don't have, and I was like, well, go eat, as my mom would say, morderle a your CD player, right? Like, eat your CD player. Why did you buy that? And so it takes, you need to be mindful. For a lot of us, we've never had that much money in our bank accounts, right? So we think like, oh, I'm living life, I need new shoes, you know, I'm going to be dripping all over campus. And yeah, you need that money. They give it to you, and you have to be really good at budgeting. So learned from my mistakes. I look good on campus, but I was hungry towards the end of the quarter. But I still gained 20 pounds, so I don't know what happened. I was stressed.
Let's see. So I think those are all our questions. So everyone gave some great advice. I do want to ask the group. So if we have more questions, how can our attendees find you and ask you some more questions or reach out for more information? Can they find you on LinkedIn or any other social media platform? How can they reach out to you?
Yes, absolutely. LinkedIn, message me.
I would highly recommend LinkedIn. I know it might seem like, you know, it's not that cool of an app, social media app, but it's definitely going to be beneficial for you when you're trying to have a career and everything, and you're putting your professional life out there. And so I think having a LinkedIn is definitely going to be beneficial for you, as well as, you know, connecting with other people, finding opportunities, and definitely connecting with us, you know, all the panelists here, as well as, you know, others. So I recommend LinkedIn.
Yeah, definitely LinkedIn, and you can reach me through my email, which I'll put in the chat momentarily.
As everyone else said, LinkedIn, and I will also be putting my email in the chat below.
I'm gonna go ahead and do the same thing because I mean, it all comes through the email. So that's how I'm learning to communicate most. So I'll go ahead and add that into the chat.
Okay, well, thank you everyone for your questions. I'm going to go ahead and hand it back to George so he can give our closing remarks.
Well, thank you everyone for your time this evening. I hope that you know, the wisdom that all these I say pioneers, right? Because it's so great to be able to hear from first generation college students, people coming and looking at college from different realities. So I'm glad we're able to have this wide diversity. So I hope that the information they've shared has been helpful for you. And you know, just want to let you know, you've joined one NALHE event. Come and join the NALHE family, because these are just some of our members. We have an amazing network of people. These are early, they're in their college careers. I'm a mid-careerist now. I've been working for over 25 years now. So I can help connect people too. So you have the broad spectrum here that can support you. So NALHE is with you. We're your partner. And we are making sure that our Latinos and Latinas will have a voice and a place at every table. So please join us with that. So wishing you all the best in your future success, because you will all be successful. And please make sure to follow NALHE DFW on LinkedIn. If you haven't heard, maybe I need to work on my LinkedIn profile. That would be a great project to do before you start applying. Have your LinkedIn profile, follow us. We have some great things on LinkedIn. And we'd love to hear from you. So thank you so much, and have a wonderful day, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.